Welcome to the Elementary STEM Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Naomi Meredith, a former classroom teacher turned K-5 STEM teacher and coach. With over a decade of experience teaching and a master's degree in STEM leadership, I'm here to coach you throughout the year to help you gain back more time to create innovative experiences for your students. All right. Well, I am so excited for today's interview. I really get excited about the interviews because it's just so fun to talk with other people who are passionate about STEM and ways that we can support our students. And today I have Dr. Jennifer Berry from SmartLab, and this is such a treat for all of you. And I'm so excited for us to dive in. So, Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, your background, and how it all connects to Smart Labs.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you, first and foremost, for having me on your show. I really appreciate that. And I'm really excited to talk to your amazing audience because I know you have a wide variety of STEM facilitators and teachers out there that get excited as you and I are passionate about STEM. So yay for STEM.
Yes, it's the best.
Yes, it is the best. So yes, you are right. My name is Dr. Jennifer Berry. I'm very excited to be here. So a little bit about how I even came upon being a CEO of a STEM organization. So when I think about my sort of childhood, there's many people that I know that are in the STEM fields that are like, I was the type that took things apart and, took a radio apart to see how it works. I was not that child. But I was really, really, really engaged in sort of storytelling and performance and anything that I could do. Like when we call STEM hands-on learning, that's what I loved. I loved hands-on learning, not necessarily taking things apart, but getting up out of my chair, telling a story with my hands, as you see me doing now. Really engaged in thinking about my learning process through the act of storytelling, through the act of movement. And so to me, that was my version of hands-on engagement. And it was so exciting for me when I found SmartLab, and SmartLab defines sort of STEM through STEM identity. So rather than like we do stuff with STEM, hands-on project-based learning, which we do, right? We do hands-on project-based learning. But what our goal is to make sure that students have STEM identity. And we define STEM identity by a learner's self-belief that they belong, they can master rigorous challenges, and their ideas have impact. Right. And so that goes beyond the STEM fields. That's really about a learner as they go through their learning journey, as well as when they become an adult and in their careers, having a mindset that they can master rigorous challenges, a mindset that they add value, and a mindset that they belong in any field. Right. So that for me was really exciting when I think about my journey coming up as a child, and the things that got me excited as a learner was the times where I got play-based learning, or where I got to get out of my seat and tinker with something and get my hands in it. And that's what brought up aha moments for me, right? Yeah. And we also at SmartLab define aha moments by this sudden realization that occurs when a learner's ideas connect in new and meaningful ways, right? And that's often, as you know, sparked by curiosity. It's sparked by hands-on engagement and problem solving. And so that just resonated with me because I'm like, oh, that's how I thrived in a learning environment when I was curious, right? When I was engaged in problem solving. And so my whole career has been in education. Got my doctorate in education, but this particular organization really spoke to me because this idea to empower students and give them agency to believe that they can master anything was really exciting for me. And I'm really, really honored to be a part of an amazing team of educators and employees and operators. And I get to work with amazing STEM facilitators across the country that get to help students every day believe that they can master rigorous challenges. And that's really exciting for me.
I love that. Your background is very similar to mine, where I my siblings had Lego bricks, but I
Yep.
wasn't really
Yeah.
interested in
Mhm,
that. But I was
mhm,
interested in creating in different ways. And same as
mhm,
you, like the performative side and just
mhm.
being hands on in a lot of different ways. And it was really exciting when STEM became a job that I could have. It
Uh-huh.
actually made sense because I was a classroom teacher for a while before I became a STEM teacher.
Oh,
And
I love
now
that.
out of the classroom and doing STEM in different ways. So I
Mm,
totally resonate with that. And also what you were saying, how it's beyond that science, technology, engineering, and math, which is
mhm,
important, but also creating those lifelong learners. And those
mhm.
are the types of things I would tell my students where the tools are going to change, the roles
Yes.
are going to change, the technology. However, these skills, can you collaborate with somebody?
Mm,
Can you make those connections with others? Can you keep
mhm,
going when things are difficult, even
mhm,
100 times after it doesn't work? And so I think that's really important. And I love that's how those are the values with SmartLab
mhm.
because those are important skills because not every kid will be in a STEM career,
That's
but they
right.
need those skills to be able to do
Yeah.
whatever they're going to do when they grow up.
That's right. That's right. I love this conversation because I just get really excited about the fact that, there's a lot of students. I have a daughter and she's 10 and she has always loved math. That's just been her thing. She also has an opportunity, a learning disability in writing. So that's always been a pain point for her and it's hard. And recently we've given her tools for her writing that have been STEM based, right? That have been technology based, right? She can do talk to text. She can edit through a talk to text feature rather than, handwriting it because of her learning disability. And that has really helped her now say, oh, now I love writing, which that was not what she was saying for years. And so that sort of mindset that she believed she was powerful in math, we championed. And now she's carried that into her writing because we've given her STEM tools in order to like practice writing in a way that actually has her not confined to a box, but actually it gives her the ability to get her ideas out on paper, which is really, really fascinating. So
That's
it's really
cool how
exciting.
she found another
Mhm.
passion
Mhm.
using
I
those
know.
tools. That's
I know.
exciting.
Yeah,
You might
I
have
love
a
that.
budding author. You never
I
know.
know. You never know. Well, it's so interesting. It's when, and this is the STEM teachers out there know this, when you confine students into boxes, it can really limit their creativity. It can limit their imagination. And the beauty of it doing hands-on problem-solving projects that you use to embed a technology in or embed some sort of tool with it manipulative that the student can get their hands on can really open up a whole new avenue for thinking about even core subjects like writing, right? And that's really exciting. And that cross-curricular connection to STEM is really important for us at SmartLab too, because many times, and that's excited me. What was another exciting point to come be the CEO here is because many times there's STEM labs that you close the door and the
Yep.
students are only in there for 48 minutes a week or whatever it is. But there's no reason that STEM can't be and shouldn't be embedded into every single classroom experience, every single subject, cross-curricular. And so that hands-on project-based learning gets infiltrated throughout the entire culture of a school.
I agree with that. And part of my role when I was like in schools full time is I did teach STEM as a specialist class. So the
Mm.
kids came to me that 45 minutes
Oh,
and
yeah.
all of that. However, the other half of my week, I actually co-taught with the teachers in my building. And
Ah,
so,
that's
yeah.
cool.
So I built that schedule with teachers and really taking a look at, like you said, those cross-curricular connections. And
Mm.
that can be a sticking point for teachers. Like,
Mhm.
I only teach
Mhm.
reading this way. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, you can. Like, the core content is always going to be there.
Right, of course.
However, there's other fun ways we can
Mhm.
actually make this to life. You're still hitting those same standards, but there's
Mhm.
also in more engaging ways that your kids will
Mhm.
connect to it. And like kind of like your daughter, like there's some tools that your kids might not know about that are going to
Mhm.
empower them and help with
Mhm.
their learning. And
Mhm.
so I think that really is important. And even when, let's say you are a STEM teacher, you don't have the opportunity to co-teach or it's
Mhm.
different. Like when you're planning those lessons, it's not just the science standards, it's
Mhm.
not just the math. You really need to take a look at all of the standards across
Mhm.
all the grade levels, and it's a big task, so it's great
Big
that you
task.
guys have the training and, the support to help teachers with that, because it's a lot when you teach a lot of grades. Do you see that
Mhm.
when you're working with teachers, like, just that, whole big grade band. You're like, oh my gosh, how do I get all of it in?
Yeah, we do. And, at SmartLab, we think of the STEM learning environment as an ecosystem, right? There's not just one piece of it that takes over more than another, right? And the ecosystem is the environment itself. And the environment could be in the corner of a multi-purpose room. It could be in a classroom. It could be in an actual STEM lab, like with a door, with a lock. So it could be really anywhere, but that environment matters, like where that student can have the space to explore and be curious. That matters. So the environment is really important. And then, of course, the curriculum. And this is what you're talking about, the curriculum that lines up not only to state standards, but cross-curricular and sort of hits on various areas of learning rather than just like science or technology or math. So that curriculum is really important. And then, as you know, the equipment and tools that are connected and integrated with the curriculum is really, really key. That's like the third piece of our ecosystem, but that's really key because sometimes there's random acts of STEM where students just get to play with Legos or just get to build a robot, which is fun, and that builds curiosity and that gets kids excited. But the real magic comes from when they are doing that in connection with the curriculum, and there's a learning outcome at the other end of that building of something, right? So that sort of integration is really key. And then, of course, the support and partnership is really key. So is the school invested in STEM beyond just the 40 minutes? Is the community, are the parents involved? Is the community involved? And I'd love at some point on this call today, talk a little bit more about how we at SmartLab really empower not just folks that are in SmartLab to do that, but whether you have a SmartLab in your school or not. So we can give some tips and tricks for even any STEM teacher to excite the community to come into their labs. And then the piece that you're talking about, which is the facilitator, right? That we happen to SmartLab certify our facilitators, but having them really understand the integration of the curriculum with the tools and equipment, I think is really key and really exciting. And you sort of mentioned how it's tricky. It's tricky to do that. I always think one of the easiest, like simplest ways to integrate, and actually a way for teachers that aren't STEM teachers to get excited about, STEM is more than infusing technology or infusing some project-based way of teaching this into my classroom, is to connect it to careers. So thinking about different career industries, right? Thinking of different industry, whether it's arts and entertainment, like we talked about earlier, or construction, or advanced manufacturing, or health sciences, like whatever the career industry is, and asking teachers and or STEM teachers to think about whatever you're teaching, think about ways to connect it to to an industry, because learning for learning's sake is important. And we all know as teachers, you were a teacher in the classroom, that there's the scaffolded learning process. But the key is, even at the earliest stage of the scaffolding, like when you're teaching the most basic aspect, to connect it to some sort of industry so that the student's like, I'm learning this because in health sciences, in advanced manufacturing, in arts and entertainment fields, this is how I might use that. Those connections, those sort of like connections and neurons that form in students' brains will want them to be more curious about what they're learning and then open their brain up for that learning process. That in and of itself is STEM learning in my mind, because it's reinforcing that STEM mindset. To me, that's just like an easy thing to do, because sometimes teachers get very overwhelmed with like, how am I supposed to put a whole project-based, learning aspect into this piece of curriculum that I've been teaching for 30 years? And it's like, do something really easy. Google or AI, what industries, I'm teaching my kids this subject. What industries use this in the, right? And something will spit out in AI, ChatGPT, something will spit out in Google, and then just pull that conversation into the classroom and say, do you all know when we're learning this subject in media, they use this in this way, right? When they're editing their scripts for the news, right? They need to understand the basics of the basic writing principles. Right. And so that just opens kids' brains up. That in of itself is a project, because you're creating that mindset for the student that there's more to this learning than just learning it for learning's sake. So to me, that's a really exciting, simple thing that STEM teachers can do, but also any teachers can do that isn't so overwhelming.
I agree with that. And it's makes that why, like, why am I learning
Yeah.
this? Okay, well, here's why. Like,
Yeah,
this is the
absolutely.
root of what builds
Mhm,
off from this. Like, it might
mhm,
seem simple now, but
mhm,
what you're learning builds off the next year and the next year. And it's
mhm.
funny you say STEM careers because my other podcast is for
Yeah.
kids and it's called the STEM Career Quest podcast. So I actually interview people in STEM careers
Oh,
help
love this.
inspire kids, made for kids specifically, on what options are out there. So
Wow, I'm
totally on
writing
the
this
same,
down.
yeah.
I'm gonna get my daughter on that podcast right away.
Yeah.
I
So
love that.
season one's all out there, but just another way
Love
to,
this.
yeah, totally agree with you on that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of that, one of the things when I talked about one of the 5 pieces of our ecosystem is support and partnership, and because we believe in sustainability of labs, because
Yeah.
a lot of school districts will spend a ton of money on reinventing the room, buying the furniture, getting the kits and equipment, buying the curriculum, training the facilitator, um, 1 year.
Yep.
And then they're like, okay, now what? Facilitator, just figure it out for the rest
Yep.
of the time. Right.
Yep.
And I'm sure some of your listeners are like, yep, that's exactly what happened in my
Uh-huh.
school district. And so we at SmartLab really want to empower the community and not just sell the stuff to the school, but really put together a roadmap for STEM leaders and district leaders and principals to empower the community to come into the labs and support. So we have on November 7th in an exciting fashion to celebrate National STEM Day, which is on November 8th. It's a Saturday, so we decided to do this on November 7th. So it's called STEM Identity Day. And it's very similar to your child's podcast, right? But your children's the podcast made for children, because we're inviting business leaders, we're inviting parents, we're inviting companies, we're inviting our own employees, anybody that's interested into not just smart labs, but into school districts across the country
Huh.
to tell students about their STEM identity journey. So, and we're really giving adults the roadmap for what does it mean to have STEM identity. And you don't have to be a scientist. You
Mhm.
don't have to be a mathematician. You don't have sort of technology field to have STEM identity. You have to believe that you can master rigorous challenges, like I mentioned before. You have to believe that you belong. You have to believe that your ideas add value. And if you believe that, you have STEM identity as an adult in your career. So capture that story, come into a smart lab, come into any STEM lab across the country, even if it's not a smart lab, come into a school district to tell your STEM identity story, because that will inspire students to be like, oh, I now see a representation of what I want to do. And maybe I've never even heard of that career. And maybe I didn't even know that STEM identity impacts that career. And now I want some STEM identity. Give me some aha moments. Give me some sudden realizations that my ideas make an impact. So that's that's something that everybody can do. You can go on our website at smartlablearning.com and find resources, whether you're a Smart Lab facilitator or not, so that you can launch the STEM Identity Day in celebration of National STEM Day on November 8th.
That's so great, and I'll make sure
Yeah.
to link that in the show notes. I think that is so important. It starts when they're young. I mean, kids
Mm-hmm.
are already thinking about what
Mm-hmm.
they might wanna be when they grow up, or they have no idea, and I think that's really great, like, kicking off, back to school's over, okay, now
Yes.
we're all settled in.
Yes.
That's really exciting for teachers and definitely something that they can talk to their students about and promote, and,
Yeah.
just something that they can look forward to and
Yeah, I
inspire.
mean, most schools do career days,
Yep.
right? But why not make it more of a STEM identity day? Like,
Huh.
connect it to how STEM identity connects to careers, especially in how we define STEM identity, right? Mastering rigorous challenges, you belong, and your ideas add value. That sort of concept. I interviewed all of my employees at my company. I went one by one by one by one and asked this question: when you think about your life journey, where do you think your STEM identity started from? And I was
Mm,
fascinated by the levels of stories that I was getting. I was
wow.
getting moments where people were remembering that one moment when they were 5, or that one moment when they were 15, or some of them didn't get their STEM identity till they were in, college or
Yeah.
beyond, right? And so it was really fascinating to listen to people do that reflection and really think about and as how we define STEM identity, like where did my STEM identity really, where can I remember that moment happening for me or multiple moments happening for me? And so we just really encourage all people to do that, because if you can tell
Cool.
that story to young people, they can get really inspired. And more than anyone that that AI is going to be powering this world. And so if
Hmm.
we don't have students prepared for this AI powered world, and prepared meaning they believe that their ideas make an impact, and
Yeah.
they've had rigorous challenges and they've had productive struggle in school and in trying to solve problems in a STEM based way,
Yeah.
they're not going to be successful in this AI powered world. But if they've had productive struggle in a trying to solve a problem in a STEM based way, they're going to be really empowered when they get into this AI powered world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because there's a lot, I mean, AI can do a lot and it's changing. However, there's a lot of things, the human side of it, that it
Yeah,
can't replace.
that's right.
And stories actually are really important. It can make up a story, but we don't know who that person is. But like
Yeah.
what your experience is
Mhm,
something that AI can't take away from you. That is so extremely important. And
mhm.
definitely, yeah, that whole AI thing's that's a whole other podcast
That's a whole
too.
nother podcast. I know. It's a whole nother podcast. I know.
Touched on like your guys' core values at Smart Labs and some of the things that you all offer. But if you wouldn't mind diving more into that, is it
Sure.
just only product solution? Is it only training based? Is it a mix and match type of
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure teachers are like Googling or what is Smart Labs? Like, how do I get connected? And I'm sure there might be other tiers, but in a general sense, like,
Mhm.
how would you explain that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So we take a lot of pride in the fact that our goal is to empower students with STEM identity. And so when we backward mapped, how do you get that? It isn't just one thing. And so we take a lot of pride in all five of those components integrated together in order to give the students the STEM identity. Because if it's just curriculum, sure, they might get a couple of aha moments, they might have a moment here or there, but it's not integrated in a way that manufactures an environment that gives them multiple aha moments to build that STEM identity. So we take a lot of pride in the five components. So what we sell is the environment. Whether you do the full we'll do a full turnkey STEM environment for you, or a flexible STEM environment in the corner of a library or in the corner of a classroom. So we can do, but it's still an environment. And that's something we really believe strongly in. After that environment, the curriculum and the kits and equipment that's integrated with that are really important. So those are the next two. Then the Smart Lab certified facilitator isn't just training. So of course we train people how to use our curriculum, how to use our kits and equipment, but we also, and again, this is because our core belief is that our goal is STEM identity, which STEM identity doesn't just happen one time we train a facilitator. It happens that the facilitator themselves is building skill. And so we believe not only training them and getting them up to speed on our curriculum and our kits and equipment, but also empowering them in a professional learning community, also empowering them with extend trainings, also empowering them with one-on-one coaching if they need it. So that sort of multi-year sustainable training of the facilitator and having them a part of a cohort across the country, professional learning community across the country, is really important. Because and I'm sure many of your listeners know, sometimes you're the only STEM facilitator in your school. And there's all the teachers, then there's the special education group, and then there's you. Right? And you're like, who am I supposed to talk with? Who am I supposed to
100%.
engage with? Right? And so we really recognize that and realize, in order for students, because that's our goal, to get the STEM identity, that facilitator needs to be empowered. They need to be
Mm,
excited. They need to be having their own aha moments. They need to be having
yeah,
their own skill level up skill, right? So just training them once to get them
I
prepared
agree.
isn't enough. And so
No,
we really feel like that sustainable training and year over year professional learning community is really, really key. So that's really important. And then that last piece that I talked about, that partnership or the support and partnership piece, of course we support SmartLab, anybody that purchases our full turnkey ecosystem, with, technical support and customer support, but more importantly, tools and resources, again, for the community to get involved, right? Like this STEM Identity Day on November 7th that I mentioned. But we have various different activities across the course of the year that we're trying to empower the community to come in, because that's what also makes it sustainable. It isn't just the room. It isn't just the curriculum and the kits and equipment. It isn't even just the facilitator, although the facilitator is probably one of the most important pieces, but it's also the community, because if the parents are involved, if businesses are coming in and saying, hey, school districts, I know your budget is tight, right? But I'm willing to pay the renewal every year because I'm this company over here that believes that I want the workforce of the future coming out of my community. I'm going to pay your renewal every year, or I'm going to upgrade every year your kits and equipment so that you're at the top of you have all the fresh kits and equipment, because we know technology is changing by the minute. You buy it today, and a year from now, you're going to need something new. So getting that community involved is really important. That creates that sticky, sustainable model for that school district. So it isn't just like a big purchase of stuff, but it's initial big purchase of stuff. But then there's all this ongoing support, community support, facilitator, professional learning community, and extend training, up-leveling certification support that will sustain the lab year over year over year. So again, we keep trying to root ourselves back in. What is our goal? Our goal isn't to sell stuff. Our goal is to get students STEM identity. And if that's our ultimate goal, what do we believe gets them that? It's all 5 things integrated together in a way that gets that student in the middle of these 5 things, their aha moments, and multiple aha moments that are manufactured in a way that they can flourish. And they can get their STEM identity. So that's really key to us. So you can't just buy a piece here and there from us. You could from other places, but we want to say you could, but we don't want to do that because we believe that the STEM identity is the key to the student's journey. And that's why we make sure that it's all integrated together.
Yeah. I love that. That's actually, I'm so glad I interviewed you, because all of that is definitely like what I believe in. And I have seen that. And a big reason why I started this podcast and all the things that I do is because so many teachers out there and they're listening, and you even said it, you're probably the only one who's teaching it, and you're like an island. And that was me. And you are literally thrown into this position, maybe have some things, maybe you don't, maybe you inherited some random stuff, you don't have any training, any support. And a lot of times, you probably have seen this, a lot of these teachers, and it's great, they have classroom experience, but they might not even have a degree in elementary STEM. I got mine later. I have a master's in STEM leadership.
Oh, congrats.
It's super fun. But I totally agree with what you're saying. It is all encompassing, and it is hard to do it alone. And I love how you have the community piece and you continuously are checking in with those teachers, because the year changes. You're not doing 3D printing the whole time. Okay, we're doing makerspace. Now we are doing 3D printing. Now we have some robotics. Maybe we're going to add in some drones. Maybe, so it's a lot of moving pieces. It's not impossible, but having almost like a team backing you and supporting you and helping you feel successful, because you're not going to know everything as a teacher. And like you said, there's always more to learn. Everything's changing. But having that support is so great. And I love that, how that's your model where, yes, we have those tools, but we're really building that STEM identity in kids, which is the ultimate goal and really, really important. So I love that is your whole mission behind what you guys are doing. And that's extremely important and different. It's very different than what other people might do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I love hearing from people like you who are actually in a lab, because that's what we also are trying to do, is listen to those that are in a lab, listen to those that are teaching STEM in a classroom, listen to those that are actually doing it, because, we behind, sitting in our ivory tower can find all the best tools, right? Find all the coolest technology, write some really standards-based curriculum, which we do. We do all of that stuff. We find the best curriculum. We write all this curriculum based on state standards. We find all the best, newest, improved technology. We do all of that. But that's not enough, right?
No.
Because the rubber hits the road when the facilitator's sitting in that classroom going, okay, how am
Mm-hmm.
I going to get these students right? And what I found when I first got to SmartLab, even in some of our early, we've been around over 30 years. And so I'd go into some labs that had been around for years and years and years,
Yeah.
decades. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of random acts of STEM happening,
Yeah. Yeah. I love
which,
that wording for
yeah,
it. That's so
right.
nice.
Random acts of STEM, which is fun. And the students were engaged and they were excited. And, but when I started to ask the questions to the students, like, what are you getting from this? How does this connect to a career? How do you feel empowered? Do you feel like you can master rigorous challenges? The answers were a little all over the place. It was
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, this is just fun. I like to do this, right? And they might not have had the right sort of connective tissue to the point of why they were doing
Mm-hmm.
these random acts of STEM. So this integration that I'm talking
Yeah.
about, from the
Yep.
environment to the curriculum to the kits and equipment to the facilitators training to the community involvement, is where the connections
Yeah.
can be made. And that's the piece that we just are really focused on and learning from and iterating on, because it, just like STEM, we have to iterate. We can't
Yeah.
just put a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff and hope for the best. So
Mm-hmm.
we're really listening to people like you, people like our facilitators in our smart labs, but also talking to facilitators in STEM all across the country. We have
Yeah.
a STEM advisory board that reviews all of our that are, have doctorates in STEMs and are in STEM fields, reviewing all our curriculum to make sure that it's connected to industry pathways, giving us a ton of feedback, because we feel really proud that we don't want to just be random acts of STEM.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be integrous, and we want integration happening so that that integration can build that STEM identity.
Mm-hmm.
So I just find that really
Yeah.
important. And there's a
Same.
lot out there for STEM. Some STEM teachers that have been doing this for years, or STEM facilitators that have been doing this for years, have it down. They know what their first semester, second semester, they're rotating their kids. And then some, I just sold this into my daughter's school, and they're actually converting the librarian into a STEM
Yeah.
teacher,
That happens. Yeah.
which is a
Mm-hmm.
very different mindset, right? And so she's really, I could see she's nervous. She's like, oh, I'm trying to figure out how to use, and we are just wrapping our arms around her to make sure she feels empowered, because part of the productive struggle for students is exciting to see productive struggle for adults. And I really have enjoyed watching this librarian have her own aha moments, and watching her sort of productively struggle with, like, ooh, that lesson didn't work. Like, I put that in front of the kids and I used the curriculum as intended based on, the steps that you guys taught me, but I overhelped. I didn't let the kids fail at it. I jumped in when they were not doing it right. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
learning how, like, oh, and then so nobody got any aha moments because I basically did it for them. I helped
Yeah.
them through that journey. And so her own aha moments of learning, like, where to pull back in the conversation with students and let them have that productive
Yeah.
struggle has been really exciting to see. And having her connect it to even her own librarian training
Wow.
has been really exciting. Yeah.
That's so great. I love that. What a unique experience. And I'm sure you have dozens of stories of teachers and
Yeah.
like all their journey with you guys, and how it is a journey,
It's a journey.
stepping into the STEM
Mhm.
position. It's not always what you think it is, but it's really great once you stick with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's really exciting and very needed. And
Mhm.
when you have that connected and integrated experience, it is more meaningful.
Mhm.
And it does carry on, like you said, the random acts of STEM. They're fun,
They're fun.
but I mean, they don't always go anywhere. They are random acts of STEM. It's exactly how you say it. So, but I love
Yeah.
that as like what you offer teachers, and I know that they'll be really excited to connect with you all and just see how that can be an option for them in their school. So, I'm so glad that you're a guest on our show, and
Thank you.
yeah, so like I really loved hearing just the whole everything behind the scenes, and I think teachers also as well, where maybe it's intimidating, they don't know what this means, but hearing you speak about it, and the whole purpose behind it definitely aligns with what, like I said, what I think STEM education can be and should be, and there's so much potential with that in our
Yeah.
schools. But
Yeah.
if teachers are interested or want to hear more, what are some ways that they can maybe connect with you or with SmartLab?
Yeah, so anybody can always connect with me on LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free, Dr. Jennifer Berry. Easy to find me. But to contact SmartLab, you can go to our website, smartlablearning.com. There's various free resources, free tools. We really want to encourage everybody to join us for STEM Identity Day on November 7th. And we've got a lot of tools for how a facilitator or a teacher can set that up in their school district, or they can contact us and we can help them set that up. So we're really excited for that. You can also obviously encourage your principals and your superintendents to consider SmartLab so that you can have this turnkey ecosystem that sparks aha moments and drives STEM identity for learners into your school. So you can always encourage your principals and your superintendents to contact us as well. But really, we just want to make sure that we're empowering all STEM teachers out there, whether they're a SmartLab STEM teacher or a non-SmartLab STEM teacher, to think about how do we empower students with STEM identity. And STEM identity goes beyond STEM. And again, is about that mindset of mastering rigorous challenges, feeling like you belong, and feeling like your ideas add value. So I just encourage people to reach out to us. We're happy to talk to people about getting involved in our cohorts, facilitator cohorts, professional learning communities. So we're really excited to bring people into the fold however we can so that more and more students across the country get this STEM identity, because all students deserve it, every student. And I have the fortune of being able to be a CEO of a STEM company. So my daughter is getting all the latest and greatest, but not all parents do. And I can tell you, before I was part of a STEM company, I felt like as a parent, I was behind. And I always felt like, oh, am I giving her enough? I don't have a 3D printer in my garage. I can't afford that. Or even if I could afford that, I don't know how to use it. And so am I behind, right? Is she not getting the tools? Is she not getting her hands on the 3D printer, the 3D pens, the laser cutters, right? The kits and equipment that, the robots, the coding. Is she not getting that? And I always felt behind as a parent. I now don't feel behind because I'm part of an ecosystem that is driving that. However, my goal as a CEO of SmartLab is that all students do that, so we could take a little bit of edge off parents feeling like they're behind. Because if smart labs are in every school and all students, whether you're in rural, urban, mountains, you're in Colorado to the beach where I'm at in San Diego, wherever you are in the country, you deserve to have a manufactured ability to get your hands on some of this amazing technology and curriculum so that you are set up and ready and future ready, right? Because we want students to, again, believe they belong in fields that any industry. We want them to believe they can do this, they add value, and they're future ready. And you can do that through being equitable with STEM learning environments in every single school district across the country.
I love that. I'm so excited to see how you guys continue to grow and reach more students and connect with teachers. And so excited for teachers to listen to this and see how they take action from here. But thank you so much again for your expertise and everything that you shared. Definitely believe in what you guys are doing. And
thank you.
So excited for me to learn more on my own outside of this.
Let's talk after. We should join forces. You're doing some amazing things for students and teachers. So we appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much again for your time. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're so great.
Yeah, so are you. I love having good energy conversations. Good. You're wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Elementary STEM Coach podcast. I would love to connect with you over on Instagram at NaomiMeredith_ or send me an email to elementarystemcoachpodcast@gmail.com. Also, make sure to check out my website, naomimeredith.com, to see all the show notes from today's episode and shop my K-5 STEM resources. Any questions you have, needs for resources, or ideas for episodes, get in touch. I'll talk to you soon.